Didn't Ibrahim alayhi salam have a toxic father? Didn't Yusuf alayhi salam have narcissistic brothers? Didn't they? Isn't he a victim of family abuse? Wasn't he being gaslit when he was being called a thief? Isn't this what was happening to them? So they could take all of that, listen to all of that, and those experiences, and then for the rest of their life, they can say, I know all these fathers, they're toxic. I know I need to draw a healthy boundary between me and them, and etc. Even Ibrahim alayhi salam, when he's being expelled from his own home, he turns back to his father and he uses Ya Abati. He turns, my beloved father, Ata'tu fidil al-hub. He turns to his father and says, Dad, I still love you. You may not be good to me, but that doesn't mean I will no longer be good to you. And I'll still pray for you to be forgiven. La astaghfiranna lak. I'll pray for you still. Because maybe Allah will turn your heart. I can't do anything about it. I have to leave now. That's okay. But I still care about you. He doesn't say, you know what? You are a narcissist. You are a toxic person. I'm glad now there's a distance between us. I need to keep you away from my own personal healing. This is not his attitude. This is not his approach. What we have done is we have created, and these judgments, these labels, they are against the fundamental teachings of our deen. And I'll leave you one last, especially within our families. Okay, you could have an argument between husband and wife. Happens. Okay, don't raise your hand. But if you have an argument, husband and wife, and one of you says, you're such an abuser. You're such a gaslighter. Instead of, what does the deen tell us to say? وَقُلْ لِعِبَادِي يَقُولُ الَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ إِنَّ الشَّيْطَانَ يَنزَغُ بَيْنَكُمْ. Allah says that tell my servants, say something that is better and more beautiful. Because shaitan will try to cause friction between you, chaos between you, discord between you. If there's an argument happening and you hear something painful, you could respond with something that will make things worse. You can also respond with something that can change the direction of the conversation towards something better. Allah is not telling you to walk away from the conversation. Allah is telling you to deal with the conversation. If the conversation is completely out of hand, Allah is saying, إِذَا خَاطَبَهُمُ الْجَاهِلُونَ قَالُوا سَلَامًا. When the ignorant address them, they walk away peacefully. They say peace. They don't walk away stormed out. They walk away peacefully. But in this ayah in Surah Al-Taghabun, I learned something I was fascinated by. Being a student of psychology, I was fascinated by it. يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا إِنَّ مِنْ أَزْوَاجِكُمْ وَأَوْلَادِكُمْ عَدُوًّا لَكُمْ. Those of you who believe, some among your children and among your spouses, there may be enemies for you. This is in Medina. The surah was revealed in Medina. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was living among the Jewish and Christian tribes, and he was also among the Muslims were actually leading towards nifaq. They were leading towards hypocrisy. And you don't know in your family who really has iman, who doesn't. There was a mix. And Allah is that. Now the Prophet ﷺ says, get ready for Badr or get ready for Uhud. And some family members saying, why are you going to get yourself killed? Stay home. Just tell them you got sick. I'll just say you overslept. And tell them later. And they're trying to hold you back. They're trying to, because they don't want him to go. Well, why do you have to go every morning at Fajr? Can you just stay? And they're having these conversations. And Allah Azza wa Jal tells him that there may be among you so people that the family is so extreme that they might even be enemies for you. That extreme. I mean, you don't use this ayah and go home and say, now I know what you are to me. إِنَّ مِنْ أَزْوَاجِكُمْ وَأَوْلَادِكُمْ عَدُوًّا لَكُمْ. No, it's not. This is an extreme case. These are extreme cases. The word adu is not used lightly in the Quran. Okay, but this is the extreme case. Fine, an extreme case can exist. An extreme case where your own spouse and your own children, according to Allah, are what? An enemy. What do you do in the extreme case? Well, what you do from the pop psychology perspective, the Instagram psychologist can tell you what you do in such extreme cases is you draw some boundaries and you walk away and you heal yourself and you declare them abusers and all this stuff. And what does the Quran say? وَإِن تَعْفُوا وَتَصْفَحُوا وَتَغْفِرُوا فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. Okay, and if you can forgive, if you can overlook, You can cover their mistakes. Okay, at one point they became really aggressive, but now they're really sorry about that. Don't bring it up again. Tasfahu. Safaha means to turn the page, from safha. Turn the page. You know what that means? I remember what you did last year. You remember? I still remember those words. Do you remember what you said? That's not tasfahu. I'm still traumatized about that. Let me repeat it again as if it happened right. I didn't say it again. No, but it still hurts me though. I'm still traumatized. Therefore, I need to do dhikr of that all the time. I need to give you a khutbah about that all the time. Allah says, if you can just turn the page, then Allah is forgiving too. Maybe things will reconcile. Even in the worst case, there's room for reconciliation. There's room to make things better. But if the hearts are not, if you're too absorbed in yourself, you're not going to look for a solution. The only thing that you want to serve is your wishes. And so this is the last thing I will share with you. The direction that psychology is going in now, pop psychology, reminds me of the ayah of Surah Al-Jathiyah. أَرَأَيْتَ مَنِ اتَّخَذَ إِلَهَهُ هَوَاهُ وَأَضَلَّهُ اللَّهُ عَلَىٰ عِلْمٍ. Did you see someone who takes their feeling, their empty feeling, and they turn it into their God? Their God has become their feeling. And Allah allows this person to be misguided even though they have knowledge. عَلَىٰ عِلْمٍ. They can know, they can be a PhD, they can be a doctor, they can be a professional, but they are being led by their emotions. And they give themselves a new diagnosis and give other people a diagnosis depending on how they make them feel. Today you're a narcissist, tomorrow you're an abuser, the next day you're a toxic person, the next day you're this, the next day you're depressed, the next day you're, you have attachment issues. You just throw out these diagnoses, label people. أَضَلَّهُ اللَّهُ عَلَىٰ عِلْمٍ وَخَتَمَ عَلَىٰ سَمْعِهِ وَجَعَلَ, so Allah says, and this kind of a person, Allah will put a ceiling on their hearing. You know what that means? That means it doesn't matter if you try to reason with them. You cannot reason with people who live by emotions. Many of you have experienced this. When people are living by their emotions, if you're trying to be logical, it's like talking to a wall. But I feel. The feeling is, that's the God. خَتَمَ عَلَى سَمْعِهِ وَجَعَلَ عَلَى قَلْبِهِ غِشَاوَةً. And Allah places a cover over their hearts. وَمَن يَهْدِيهِ مِن بَعْدِ اللَّهِ. Who's going to guide them after Allah? That ayah, that last part of that ayah, who will guide them after Allah? You know what that means? They replaced Allah with their own feelings. That's why there's no more guidance for them. Because their ilah is actually Allah, but their ilah became their hawa. So Allah says, فَمَن يَهْدِيهِ مِن بَعْدِ اللَّهِ. Who's going to guide them after Allah? After they remove Allah from their hearts, what guidance can they have?